Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international seminar on bees, pollination, metrology, awareness, education, environment, health, well-being, and sustainable development 2024, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 76 years of independence, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030, and also World Bee Day 2024 and World Metrology Day 2024, and also World Autoimmune Arthritis Day 2024, and many other commemorations in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Arts, Sciences and Wellbeing and International and National Fraternity. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today, we are commemorating World Bee Day. We all depend on the survival of the bees. Before we start, let's have a short video on the bees' contribution, and then we will see. So with that video, we have seen how bees are important, and those are the unsung heroes and heroines. So today, it's a day to express our gratitude and thank all the unsung heroes and heroines. Because of them, the entire planet is thriving and surviving, and we are able to get foods. Plants are blossoming with flowers, fruits, and produce. Bees and other pollinators, such as butterflies, bats, hummingbirds, and many other pollinators, are increasingly under threat from human activities. Pollination is, however, a fundamental process for the survival of our ecosystem. Nearly 90% of the world's wild flowering plant species depend entirely or at least in part on animal pollination. Along with more than 75% of the world food crops and 35% of global agricultural land. Not only do pollinators contribute directly, but also to the food security, and they are key to conserving biodiversity. To raise awareness of the importance of pollinators, the threats they face, and their contributions to the sustainable development, the UN designated 20 May as a World Bee Day. On this occasion, we are commemorating World Bee Day and having this wonderful gathering and commemorating the importance of bees. In recognition to the pivotal role that youth can play in addressing challenge bees and other pollinators are facing, World Bee Day 2024 focuses on the theme Be Engaged with Youth. This theme highlights the importance of inviting young people in beekeeping and pollinator conservation efforts, recognizing them as the future stewards of our environment. This year's campaign aimed to raise awareness among youth and other stakeholders about the essential role of bees and other pollinators in agriculture, ecological balance, and biodiversity preservation. By engaging young people in beekeeping activities, educational initiatives, and advocacy efforts, we can inspire a new generation of environmental leaders and empower them to make a positive impact on the world. Fostering more diverse agriculture systems and reducing reliance on toxic chemicals can facilitate increased pollination. This approach can improve food quality and quantity, benefiting the human populations and the ecosystem. Do you know how many kinds, species of pollinators are there? Can you guess? You can put it in chat box. Just have a wild guess. Or if you are already into the biological science or environment, you'll be aware of the importance of pollinators, or you may be also aware of various pollinators. So this is a wonderful opportunity for all to educate ourselves and bring awareness on various pollinators across the world. There are various bees, flies, monkeys, squirrels, butterflies, bats, and other bugs, and many more are different pollinators. We'll also look at each and every aspect of how they are contributing. With the curtain raiser video, we saw how they are contributing. Bees are under threat present species extinction rates are 100 to 1,000 times higher than the normal due to human impacts. Close to 35% of the invertebrate pollinators, particularly bees and butterflies, and about 17% of vertebrate pollinators, such as bats, face extinction globally. And this trend continues. If this trend continues, nutritious crops such as fruits, nuts, and many vegetable crops will be substituted increasingly by staple crops like rice, corn, and potatoes, eventually resulting in an imbalanced diet. Recently, we have seen, NIN, ICMR, nutrition has given guidelines and has specified various nutrition guidelines and also stated that more than 58% of all diseases and disorders which are occurring are due to, especially non-communicable diseases, are due to improper diet and improper lifestyle. And that is also contributing to destruction of the planet. So our lack of discipline, our lack of concern towards the environment, nature, and planet is creating disasters which are ultimately affecting us in return. As we say, karma never leaves us. It never misses our address. So whatever we are doing in the form of human activities are hitting back in various forms through climate change, through human disasters, food scarcity, and various forms. So it's a high time we realize, otherwise we'll continue to pay more and more in various forms. So intensive farming practices, land use change, monocropping, pesticides, and higher temperature associated with climate change all pose problems for bee pollination and, by extension, the quality of food we grow. Recognizing the dimensions of the pollination crisis and its link to the biodiversity and human livelihoods, the Convention on Biological Diversity has made the conservation and sustainable use of pollinators a priority. Now, in 2000, the International Pollinator Initiative, in short known as IPI, was established under COP decision, version 5, section 2, at the 5th conference at the parties, COP 5, as a cross-cutting initiative to promote the sustainable use of pollinators in taxonomic information on pollinators, assessing the economic value of pollination and the economic impact of the decline of pollination services and protect pollinator diversity, along with the coordinating the International Pollinator Initiative, IPI, and the FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, also provides technical assistance to countries on issues ranging from queen breeding to artificial insemination to sustainable solutions for the honey production and export marketing. So, how can we contribute? How can we do more? Do you know 1 million flowers and 50,000 bee flights are required to produce 1 kg of honey? Just imagine how much efforts goes into producing 1 kg of honey. How hardworking they are, selfless creatures, to produce honey which is consumed by us. They are working days and nights together, and they give their entire life and efforts for us. They are born and sacrificed for us entire life by producing honey for us. Such a great species, many such great species are becoming extinct due to our human activities. The impact, the consequences of human activities are endangering, making species extinct. So it's a high time before human beings become extinct. We realize our activities, our decisions are having the consequences which are impacting not just human beings, but across various species on the planet, and also creating disasters. So as an individual, how we can contribute? By planting a diverse set of native plants which flower at different times of the year, so that we have flowers all around the year for the bees, and buying raw honey from local farmers so that they constantly keep bee breeding so that they can maintain the pollinators population, buying products from sustainable agriculture practices. No one would like to be abused, would like to be tortured, would like to be a bonded slave. And we should not encourage any such practices anywhere. You should always think once before you inflict or you take a decision, and you should put yourself in that place and imagine whether you would be happy with that or not. If you are not happy with that, in any form, either through words, through actions, through behaviors, or just by gestures, or in any form, you should not do, you should not take up, you should not get into action if you would not like to be in that position. So avoiding pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides in our garden, protecting wild bee colonies wherever, whenever possible, sponsoring a hive, making a bee water fountain by leaving a water bowl outside, helping sustainable and sustaining forest ecosystems, raising awareness around us by sharing this information within our families, neighborhoods, communities, and networks. The decline of bees affects us all, including everyone. As beekeepers, you can turn yourself into a beekeeper or farmer by reducing or changing the usage of pesticides, or as a farmer, if you are not an existing beekeeper or farmer, we can support as a beekeeper or farmer. We can reduce changing the usage of pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and other chemical fertilizers. We can use other natural methods, diversifying crops as much as possible, and planting attractive crops around the field, around our homes, around our neighborhoods, creating hedgerows and various such initiatives which promote the growth of flowering plants and trees, and also fostering bee growth. As governments and decision makers and policy makers, we can strengthen the participation of local communities in decision making, in particular that of indigenous people who know and respect ecosystems and biodiversity, enforcing strategic measures, including monetary incentives to help change, increasing collaboration between national and international organizations and academic and research networks to monitor and evaluate pollination services. If you look at some case studies like Gambia, Yemeni honey has a transcendent legacy. Yemeni honey has a history going far back into antiquity, tracing its origins to the 10th century BC and gaining global fame for its quality. But the production of Yemeni honey faces daunting challenges. In addition to the damage done by the country's long-running conflict, honey producers also grapple with the unpredictable climate. An initiative from FAO and World Bank has helped beekeepers across the country to increase their productivity and nutrition through better beekeeping practices. These included more efficient handling of the bees and techniques for extra and extracting honey. Gambia, desertification and land degradation, which are major environmental issues faced in Gambia, through a flagship program spearheaded by FAO and the Gambia's Department of Forestry, the community-based sustainable dry forest management project has outfitted groups of community beekeepers known locally as honey enterprise groups with beekeeping equipment such as beehives, uniforms, boots, gloves, uniforms, and hive tools. With the support of FAO through the Global Environment Facility funded project, the honey enterprise groups are constructing beehives in the forest to harvest honey for their livelihoods. When we look at the background, there are various benefits of pollinators as they help 75% of the crops producing fruits and seeds to pollinate, increase biodiversity, increase food production, provide micronutrient-rich foods to us, and also maintain ecosystems. And the benefits of sustainable beekeeping include provides pollination, apitherapy, and apitourism, produces honey, wax, propolis, and pollen, helps maintain a healthy environment, supports livelihoods of small-scale producers, and also helps achieve sustainable development goals. Pollinators allow many plants, including food crops, to reproduce. Indeed, the food that we eat, such as fruits and vegetables, directly relies on pollinators. A world without pollinators would equal to a world without food diversity. No blueberries, no coffee, no chocolate, no cucumbers, and no nuts, and so much more. They are served They also serve as sentinels for emergent environmental risks, signaling health of local ecosystems. That's why we need pollinators. Pollinators and pollination is a pillar of our ecosystem. Pollinations not only help ensure the abundance of fruits, nuts, and seeds, but also their variety and quality, which is crucial for human nutrition. Beyond food, pollinators also contribute directly to medicines, biofuels, fibers like cotton and linen, and construction materials. The vast majority of flowering plant species only produce seeds. If animal pollinators move pollen from one to the others, from the athens to stigmas of their flowers. Without this service, many interconnected species and process functioning within the ecosystem would collapse. Pollination is therefore a keystone process in both human managed and natural terrestrial ecosystems. It is critical for the food production and human livelihoods and directly links wild ecosystems with agricultural production systems. Bees are the ambassadors of pollinators. Most of the 25,000 to 30,000 species of bees, which is scientifically known as Hymenoptera epidae, are effective pollinators, and together with moths, flies, wasps, beetles, and butterflies, they make up a majority of pollinating species. But the diversity of pollinators and pollination systems is striking. Indeed, there are also vertebrate pollinators, including bats, non-flying mammals such as several species of monkeys, rodents, lemur, tree squirrels, olingo, and kinkajou, and birds like hummingbirds, sunbirds, honey creepers, and some parrot species. Current understanding of the pollination process shows that while specific relationship exists between plants and their pollinators, healthy pollination services are best ensured by an abundance and diversity of pollinators. No pollinators, no sustainable development goals. The diversity of pollinators have a direct and positive impact on crop yields. Bees and other pollinating insects are in fact improving the food production of 2 billion small farmers worldwide, helping to ensure food security for the world's population. Honey hunting of wild bee colonies also remain an important part of the livelihoods of forest-dependent peoples in many developing countries. Conversely, the decline of these species has many consequences on our ecosystems and the quality and quantities of food crops, with the direct consequence of an imbalance in diets and a depletion of natural resources, as well as an impoverishment of population due to lack of balanced foods, which are rich in micronutrients. The health and even the lives of billions of people will be affected, and therefore many sustainable development goals, such as one among attending world hunger and one aiming at preserving and restoring terrestrial ecosystems, will no longer be attainable. Over 80% of the food is supplied by the plants. The loss of pollinators would therefore lead to an exponential loss of biodiversity, endangering our ecosystems and diet. So, SDG goal number 50, life on land to achieve that. We need the bees. Adapting to the changing climates, a diverse assemblage of pollinators with different traits and response to ambient conditions is also one of the best way to minimize risks due to climate change. Their diversity ensures that there are effective pollinators, not just for current conditions, but for future conditions as well. As a result of biodiversity, resilience can therefore be built by agroecosystems. Before moving further, let's see how we can protect bees. And there is one more challenge. Let's look at it.
They're weird, fuzzy, and in a lot of trouble. These insects are actually all bees, wild ones. And they're debatably more important than the honey-making kind. People are really worried about bees.
We will take the plight of the honeybee for granted at our own peril.
But what most people don't know, honeybee numbers are increasing worldwide. Not just that, but the way humans use honeybees makes them a problem. Putting a honeybee hive in your backyard doesn't help, because we're saving the wrong bees. Animals are involved in the pollination of 90% of the world's flowering plants. And when you think of pollinators, the honeybee probably comes to mind. That's because honeybees and humans have an ancient relationship. Bees have been managed for thousands of years.
There's a lot of evidence that it has played an important role also in the ancient cultures in Egypt and Greece. And so beekeeping has always been very widespread.
Axel is the chair of the Invertebrate Conservation Committee at the IUCN. Honeybees are native to Asia, Europe, and Africa, but nowadays are everywhere except Antarctica. Apis mellifera is the most common honeybee and the best studied, although there are another 10 known species. They're general pollinators, meaning they will pollinate most plants. And although honeybees are at risk from pests and disease, the number of colonies worldwide is actually growing. According to the FAO, managed hives have increased worldwide by 83% since 1961.
Because they're always managed by the beekeepers and also receive veterinary treatment and so on, there's no risk that they will become extinct.
But honeybees aren't the only bees.
The general public confounds bees with the honeybee.
This is Isabel, a pollination ecology researcher specializing in urban environments.
It would be the same situation if, for example, you were talking about birds and people think that when you talk about birds, you talk about chicken.
There are around 20,000 different species of wild bees, and they are the most important wild pollinators. They're mostly solitary, and unlike honeybees, are suited to specific plants, which makes them much better at pollinating. A hectare of apples, for example, would require tens of thousands of honeybees to pollinate, but only hundreds of this wild bee, because Osmia cornuta is particularly good at apple pollination.
Each flowering plant is strongly connected to a pollinator that fits accordingly to the lock and key principle.
An entomologist by training, Sabrina is a project manager at the Research Institute of Organic Agriculture.
This perfect fit between flower and its selected pollinator is the product of an ongoing co-evolution for centuries that is still operating.
Like the squash bees native to Central and South America. They're perfectly suited to squash plants. They're early risers, and squash flowers are only open early in the morning, while the honeybees are still asleep. Don't like squash? How about tomatoes, potatoes, or eggplant? These crops also need wild pollinators, loud ones like bumblebees to be precise. Their flowers require a vibrating buzz to release their pollen, something a bumblebee perfectly provides. Honeybees just don't have that skill. But wild bees are in serious decline. And this doesn't only affect them and their ecosystems, but our food security as well. Worldwide, wild bee diversity has been decreasing each year since the 1990s. Pesticides, intensive agriculture, and especially habitat loss are main drivers. A recent study found that we may have already lost a quarter of wild bee species, but assessment is hard due to the lack of global data. Various regional estimates suggest over 40% of wild bee and butterfly species are threatened. Farmers are already noticing a difference.
When they walked along a field, everything was full of pollinators. And nowadays it's more like everything is calmed down and nobody knows where they are.
This loss of diversity can cause knock-on effects on whole ecosystems. Less pollinator diversity means fewer wild plants. This can hurt animals that use them for food or shelter. And it's also bad for the future of our food.
The yield of cultivated plants is higher when they are visited by a variety of pollinators compared to when they are visited by only honeybees.
Remember Osmia cornuta, the apple specialist?
Most of the pollination of apple trees is performed by several species of wild bees. So if you don't get these wild bees, you will get a crop of apples. species of wild bees. So if you don't get these wild bees, you would get a crop of apples that would be reduced.
US crops are already producing less due to wild pollinator decline. And globally, we're planting more and more of the crops that require animal pollination, like fruits, vegetables, and oilseeds. The increase in honeybees hasn't kept up. This means pollinator dependence has increased around 70% since 1961. And combined with the decline in wild pollinators, means an emergency for the global food supply. This is especially true in countries with many large monocultures that destroy wild pollinator habitats, like China and the United States. Not only that, the way we use honeybees actually makes them a part of the problem. According to the American Beekeeping Federation, 2/3 of the 2.7 million honeybee colonies in the US are used for pollination. Most go to the almond fields in California, where 80% of the world's almonds come from. Then bees rotate around the country to pollinate other crops. Nowhere else in the world uses honeybees for pollination like the US, but the trend is growing in Europe too as wild pollinators disappear. Unfortunately, it's not so good for the honeybees. They can be exposed to pesticides from the crops or catch diseases from the other colonies. And these honeybees are also a threat to wild ones.
Within a honeybee hive, you have tens of thousands of individuals that need a lot of food. They will eat most of the floral resources, and there will not be enough left for the other pollinating species.
If you have many bees, then they will probably outcompete this native species very fast.
Honeybees can also spread disease to wild bees. An infected bee can leave some virus on a flower to be picked up by the next wild bee that visits. It's not the honeybee's fault, but save the bees definitely does not mean adding more into the environment.
There have been a lot of people that thought that they could only save the bees when having their own beehive in the backyard. And that's the wrong way to conserve pollinators.
So what's the right way? Industrial agriculture is the biggest threat to all bees. It uses harmful chemicals and relies on huge fields of one crop. Ideally, we change our whole food system, but on a personal level, supporting small-scale sustainable farmers, if viable, also supports diverse habitats for wild bees. Even more can be done with the backyard, like leaving native plants alone or planting new ones. Open, sunny ground or dead logs also make great breeding spots for wild bees. But most of all, they need more attention. We need honeybees but are in danger of losing them. With wild bees, it's another story.
Did you have any idea wild bees were that cool? I am in love with Osmia cornuta. That apple bee, it's so cute. Anyway, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. We've got new ones every Friday.
So we have seen how no matter what are the conservation efforts, we would never meet the natural conservation. And sometimes the conservation efforts, if not being done properly, it can also create more disasters. Because of the rich diversity of species. And as we know, every species has a role to play in maintaining ecosystems. It is very important to conserve each and every species on the planet because they have a definite role to play. Sustainable Development Goal 15, Life on Land, is about conserving life on land. It is to protect and restore terrestrial ecosystems. sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and halt and reverse degradation and stop biodiversity loss. Earth's ecosystems are vital for sustaining human life. They contribute to over half of global GDP and encompass diverse cultural, spiritual, and economic values. However, the world is facing a triple crisis of climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss. Between 2015 and 2019, at least 100 million hectares of healthy and productive land were degraded every year, impacting the lives of 1.3 billion people. Agriculture expansion is the direct driver of almost 90% of deforestation. From 2000 to 2018, we need to shift humanity's relationship with nature to achieve Goal 15 and other Sustainable Development Goals, and realize that nature is the root of our life on Earth, of Earth. The recently adopted Convene Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework provides renewed impetus for Goal 50, outlining 4 outcome-oriented goals to be achieved by 2050 and 23 targets to be achieved by 2030. Why we should care? As forests cover nearly 31% of the world and are home to more than 80% of all terrestrial species of animals, plants, and insects. However, biodiversity is declining faster than at any other time in the human history. Globally, 1/5 of the Earth's land area degraded, an area nearly the size of India and the Russian Federation combined. So that much huge land is already lost, and the land quality has been degraded. Land degradation drives species to extinction and intensifies climate change, biodiversity, and ecosystem services. Its underpins can also be the basis for the climate change, adaptation, and disaster risk reduction strategies, as they can deliver benefits that will increase the resilience of people. So what does this loss of forests mean? Mean to us, mean to planet? Lost forest means the disappearance of the livelihoods in rural tribal communities, increased carbon emission, diminished biodiversity, and the degradation of land while forests remains high. 2020 data showed the proportion of forests in protected areas under the long-term management plans increased or remained stable at the global level in most regions of the world. An irreversible effect of human activity on the environment in species extinction, which upsets the balance of nature and makes ecosystem more fragile and less resistant to disruptions. A recent UN report on biodiversity found that around 1 million animal and plant species are now threatened with extinction, and many with decades more than ever before in human history. We are talking about the species which are known to us, and there are many species which are still unknown, unexplored, undiscovered, and many such species are endangered or have become extinct, which has severe impact on the biodiversity and planet. Maybe that is the reason we are facing so much of adversity in terms of climate change, pollution, and loss of biodiversity. And it also affects our health. Increased demand for animal protein, a rise in intense and unsustainable farming, the increased use and exploitation of wildlife, and the climate crisis are all driving the increased emergence of zoonotic diseases. We see all the pandemics, even the latest COVID-19, is due to consumption of meat and meat products. As the increased emergence of zoonotic diseases transmitted from wildlife to people, like COVID-19, we have seen the more consume the meat and meat products, the more ill effects it has on not only human beings, but also on the planet. It is the greatest myth that is promoted by the media and industries that only if you consume meat, you will have healthy diet and you will be healthy. That is the greatest myth, and which is the greatest propaganda that is widely spread. Even the literates and the so-called educated or enlightened also are still under the opinion that only if they consume meat or meat products, they will be healthy. But in fact, various statistics across the world shows that the population who are consuming meat and meat products are the most vulnerable to malnutrition, undernutrition, and overnutrition. Because of the selective preferences of consuming more meat and meat products and neglecting other products, food products, it is creating a crisis, nutritional deficiencies, lack of balanced food, and it is impacting health and well-being. That's why come out of that fad or myth that only if you consume meat, you will be healthy. By consuming meat, you are contributing to the greenhouse gases production. You are accelerating climate change. You are accelerating the pollution. You are polluting the resources and planet. So, the sooner that we realize, the sooner we'll be able to contribute to the planet. Every year, some 2 million people, mostly in low and middle income countries, die from neglected zoonotic diseases. The same outbreaks can cause severe illness, deaths, and loss of productivity among livestock populations in the developing world. A major problem that keeps hundreds of millions of small-scale farmers in severe poverty. In the last 2 decades alone, zoonotic diseases have caused economic losses of more than $100 billion, not including the cost of COVID-19 pandemic. Can imagine how our improper food habits and improper lifestyles is creating a huge impact on not only health and well-being of human beings, but also on various other species, and also on the nature, environment, biodiversity, ecosystems on the planet. So what we can do? Some things we can't do to help include, or some things we can do to help include recycling, eating a locally based diet that is sustainably sourced, and consuming only what we need. We often import exotic fruits, vegetables from outside, and that again leads to a lot of pollution in the form of transportation and importing of viruses, bacteria, and other pathogens from different places through air, sea, land in the form of transportation on these fruits and vegetables. And it also in the process of packing, transportation, and storage, processing, it also creates huge pollution in various forms, also amounts to the wastage. So we must be respectful to our wildlife and only take part in the ecotourism. Opportunities that are responsibly and ethically run in order to prevent wildlife disturbance. Well-managed protected area support healthy systems, which in turn keep people healthy and therefore critical to secure the involvement of the local communities in the development and management of these protected areas. Nature has bestowed us all with our native plants and species to support us. There is no need of invasive species to be part of our ecosystems that often create more damage than benefits to us. So it is a high time that we realize, give importance to our native and local species and encourage buying more such local produce, which are seasonally produced, which are healthy, and also contribute to the rural livelihoods and sustainable practices of food production. If we look at the facts and figures, terrestrial ecosystems are vital for sustaining human life, contributing to over half of the global GDP, and encompassing diverse culture, spiritual, and economic value. However, the world faces a triple crisis of climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss. Escalating trends of forest loss, land degradation, and extinction of species pose a severe threat to both the plant and people. Despite some progress in sustainable forest management, protected areas, and the uptake of national biodiversity values and natural capital accounting, most improvements have been modest. The recently adopted Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework provide renewed impetus for goal number 15 SDG, outlining 4 outcome-oriented goals to be achieved by 2050 and 23 targets to be achieved by 2030. When we look at the SDG goal number 15 and its targets, 15.1 by 2020, ensure the conservation, restoration, and sustainable use of terrestrial and inland freshwater ecosystems and their services, in particular forests, wetlands, mountains, and drylands, in line with obligations under international agreements. 15.2 by 2020, promote the implementation of sustainable management of all types of forest, halt deforestation, restore degraded forest, and substantially increase afforestation and reforestation globally. 15.3 by 2030, combat desertification, restore degraded land and soil, including land affected by desertification, drought, and floods, and strive to achieve land degraded neutral world. 15.4 by 2030, ensure the conservation of mountain ecosystems, including their biodiversity, in order to enhance their capacity to provide benefits that are essential for sustainable development. 15.5, take urgent and significant action to reduce degradation of natural habitats, halt the loss of biodiversity, and by 2020, protect and prevent the extinction of threatened species. 15.6, promote fair and equitable sharing of the benefits arising from the utilization of genetic resources and promote appropriate access to such resources as internationally agreed. 15.7, take urgent action to end poaching and trafficking of protected species of flora and fauna, that is plants and animals, and address both demand and supply of illegal wildlife products. 15.8, by 2020, introduce measures to prevent the introduction and significantly reduce the impact of invasive alien species on land and water ecosystems and control to eradicate the priority species. 15.9, by 2020, integrate ecosystems and biodiversity values into national and local planning, development process, poverty reduction strategies, and accounts. 15A, mobilize and significantly increase financial resources from all sources to conserve and sustainably use biodiversity and ecosystems. 15B, mobilize significant resources from all sources and at all levels to finance sustainable forest management and provide adequate incentives to developing countries to advance such management, including conservation and reforestation. 15C, enhance global support for efforts to combat poaching and trafficking of protected species, including by increasing the capacity of local communities to pursue sustainable livelihood opportunities. So major initiatives by FAO and other pollinators play a crucial role from a social, economical, and ecological point of view. Globally, there are threats facing by them: climate change, habitat loss, pests and diseases, and intensive agriculture, including pesticides, which are leading to the dramatic decline of both wild and managed species. To protect the bees and pollinators from these threats and to safeguard their abundance and health, efforts should be made to build a greater diversity of habitats in agriculture and urban settings. Policies in favor of pollination that promote biological pest control and limit the use of pesticides should also be implemented. The purpose of this presentation is to provide an updated global but not exhaustive list of national and international action plans and strategies in favor of pollinator conservation and presentation and sustainable use in order to inspire other institutional and policy makers to create their own guidelines and plan of actions at an international, national, and local regional levels. Being grateful to our pollinators, there are different ways to show our gratitude to the bees, butterflies, and vital pollinators. It's a bee, someone screams as they jump up from their picnic blanket, knocking over their apple juice and flailing their arms trying to get away from this flying creature. Does this scene sound familiar? We all have experienced one time or other. Many people are afraid of bees, and why not? They look like aliens. Do they so? They have stingers that hurt more than you would expect. And some people are very allergic, even deathly allergic to them. But contrary to our fears, bees are not aggressive insects and do not go after humans unprovoked. Only if you provoke them, they will be back off. Otherwise, they mind their own business. They are not like humans who continue to poke into others' business. So when they come near you, it is only because you have something they consider yummy. And if you knew all that they do for you, you would be happy to share your food or drink with them. More than 75% of the world's food crops depend to some extent on pollination, as we have seen. Pollinators like bees, butterflies, birds, moths, beetles, and even bats helps plant reproduce. And fruits and vegetables are actually plant babies. We don't often consider them in this way, but seeds, fruits, and some vegetables come from a plant that has been pollinated. Bees are part of this reason we have some of the picnic food and daily food we enjoy. Yet, there have been a worrisome decline in the pollution and the population of pollinators, especially bees and butterflies. As we have seen, mainly due to invasive agriculture practices, changes in land use, pesticides including neonicotinoid, insecticides, alien invasive species, diseases, pests, and climate change. Close to 35% of the invertebrate pollinators, particularly bees and butterflies, and about 17% of vertebrate pollinators, such as bats, face extinction globally. So farmers and policymakers have a big role to play in safeguarding our pollinators. But there are things we can do. On World Bee Day, there are 6 reasons to be grateful for our pollinators and how you can show it. They improve our diets by providing micronutrient-rich foods. Not all our food crops need pollination, like rice, wheat, and potatoes, for example, would survive even if our pollinators did not. However, many of the various nutritious micronutrient-rich foods, like fruits, some vegetables, seeds, nuts, and oils, would disappear without pollinators. A world without pollination is a world without some of the foods we love so much and need for good nutrition, like strawberries, apples, blueberries, cherries, almonds, cocoa, coffee, and many more. So return the favor. Give bees food they like by growing native plants in your garden. Plants and pollinators have a mutually beneficial and symbiotic relationship. They need one another to survive and have therefore evolved that way. Native local plants are the ones that will be most adapted to native bees. Planting a diverse set of native plants which flower at different times of the year can make a huge difference for the pollinators. So can we not show gratitude by growing a lot of flower plants in our balcony, in our house, in our neighborhoods? They give us honey. Did you know that out of close to 20,000 species of bees, only 7 of them are honeybees? Yes, Western honeybees produce 1.6 million tons of honey per year. And this wonderful product is a natural sweetener that also has antibacterial and antiseptic properties. Honey has been a part of human civilization for millennia. The ancient Egyptians used honey for medicinal purposes, such as healing wounds. They also used beeswax to embalm the dead and create an artificial light. Today, products like honey, beeswax, and other byproducts provide additional income to rural and tribal families. So buy raw honey from local farmers. Many local smallholder farmers and forest communities maintain sustainable beekeeping practices. You can lend support by buying raw honey, beeswax, or other bee products directly from them. Bees have a great work ethic. A single honeybee will typically visit around 7,000 flowers a day. And imagine, most of us would be tired from going to office and coming back to office just 2 times a day, once going and at the end of the day coming back. But can you imagine the kind of work ethics bees have? A single honeybee will typically visit around 7,000 flowers a day. Can you imagine a courier delivery boy, how many deliveries he would be making? Not even more than 100. Or how many deliveries a postman would be making in a day? Somewhere around 100 or 200 or even less. But imagine the kind of efforts bees put. 7,000 flowers a day. Can you imagine? 7,000 flights to and fro. Just imagine one day you are making 7,000 times a trip to your office, to your college, to your university. Imagine the kind of effort, the kind of resources, the kind of energy you require. Now, is it not the time to express our gratitude to the bees? And it takes 4 million flower visits to produce a kilogram of honey. 4 million flower visits to produce 1 kilogram of honey. Know how much hard they are working. Each individual bee is part of a team working tirelessly to support the growth and productivity of their beehive by gathering as much pollen as possible, while at the same time pollinating many plant species. This tireless dedication has given rise to saying, busy as a bee. We think we are working, we are doing hard work, but compare, just see how different species selflessly, without thinking anything. No, we notorious human beings always think before doing something, what's the benefit I am getting? Unless and until you get some benefit, you are not doing anything. You are taking so much from the environment. You are taking so much from the planet, but in turn you are not giving anything back. You are taking air, you are taking water, you are taking natural produce from the planet. What you are giving back, you are expecting something to be paid to give back. So selfish mean human species, but bees are not like that. And many species, except a human species, no other species is selfish. No other species is mean as we are. They contribute, they work, they are born, and they die only for maintaining the ecosystems, biodiversity, and habitats on the planet. They are the most selfless creatures, and we are the most notorious species on the planet, which are already created a havoc disasters on the planet. And is it not our duty to express gratitude to these wonderful species on the planet? Reward these busy bodies by making a bee water fountain. These little ones need water after bustling around all the day. Leaving a clean, shallow water bowl with rocks or sticks in it so that bees don't drown. It is a good way to give the bees a resting spot and some necessary refreshment. So always keep a fresh water bowl outside your homes or outside your windows, balconies. Not only bees, many birds, other species will rest there and have some water. These small things also we do not do. How notorious criminals we are. How selfish species we are. We are least bothered of the species who are born and dying for us, for our health and well-being, for maintaining the planet. Is it not our responsibility? Is it not our duty to contribute? And it doesn't cost anything. It's just a kind heart. It costs a kind heart. If you have a kind heart and a concern about yourself, not only others, you just forget about others. If you want, even if you are a selfish, even if you are mean, but if you need a healthy food for yourself, you need to take up these initiatives. But at least for that sake, we are not doing. They make our foods taste better. Well-pollinated plants produce larger, more uniform, tastier fruits and vegetables. Plants gauge how much effort is needed to reproduce a fruit or vegetable. If it hasn't been well pollinated, plants won't necessarily invest resources evenly in their production, resulting in misshaped or bland fruits and vegetables. A deformed apple, for example, a deformed tomato, for example, could mean that the plant has insufficient or imbalanced pollination. So avoid pesticides, fungicides, or herbicides, or any chemical fertilizers in your gardens, in your farms. They can kill pollinators and poison hives with contaminated nectar or pollen brought by bees from contaminated plants. So try to find natural solutions to pests for the plants in your garden. Especially birds are natural predators for insects. So that's why you see how naturally the nature has endowed with natural predators and consumers. But we are disturbing the entire ecosystem and food cycle on the planet. They increase food production and food security. In one study where pollination was very well managed, on small diverse farms, crop yields increased by a significant median of 24%. Bees and other pollinating insects are improving the food production of 2 million small farmers worldwide, helping to ensure security for the worldwide populations. Honey hunting of the wild bee colonies also remains an important part of the livelihood of forest-dependent peoples in many developing countries. So create a good habitat for the bees in order to ensure population. Leave some areas of the farm as a natural habitat, or leave some space in your home neighborhoods as a natural habitat. Create hedgerows with native plants that flower at different times during the year, so that around the year you have a flower that is blooming on every day. And plant attractive crops such as sunflower and coffee and many more, and fruit trees such as avocado and mango, and reduce your use of pesticides and leave bee nesting sites untouched. They maintain biodiversity. Pollination is one of the nature's most important process contributing to the biodiversity. It helps us to produce important process contributing to biodiversity. It helps us to produce a wide variety of plants, many of which are also food crops. So an estimated 90% of the world's flowering plants depending on pollination for their reproduction. Just imagine without bees, 95% of this food is lost. And through often overlooked bees and forest beekeeping also helps sustain forest ecosystems, as pollination helps the regeneration of trees, which in turn helps to conserve forest biodiversity. Learn more about bees and conquer your fear. By researching these creatures, you will also see that bees are not generally dangerous. Not all bees sting, and the ones that do it for a reason. Stinging and swarming are natural self-defense mechanisms. They don't intentionally hunt humans. By better understanding how to respect them, you can avoid bad encounters and learn to live peacefully with these necessary creatures and help spread the word. You can be an advocate for the bees. It is no wonder that all the major world religions have sacred passages about bees. They have been and still are vital to food and life as we know it. Through the 2018 and 2030 Plan of Action of the International Pollinators Initiative, FAO and the Convention on Biological Diversity Secretariat, in consultation with the Intergovernmental Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, in short known as IPBES, and other partners, will promote coordinated action worldwide to safeguard wild and managed pollinators and promote the sustainable use of pollination services, which is recognized as vital for agriculture and healthy ecosystems. These actions support agriculture that is more diverse and less dependent on toxic chemicals, helping keep our pollinators safe, supports for our food production, the income of farmers, and the wider environment. Help us spread the buzz on World Bee Day. Let us maintain the habitats which are bee friendly, and with that, we can have more bees naturally. Let's watch a short video. Before concluding this commemoration of the day.
importance of bees is that they are crucial to our food system. So from almonds all the way to zucchini, if we don't have good, healthy honeybees, we won't have good, healthy crops.
It's World Bee Day, and look at these bees go. A hive like this is capable of pollinating 50 million flowers a day. And they can produce extraordinary amounts of honey. Pollination is absolutely essential to sustain life on Earth as we know it. Our world is home to over 19,000 bee species. Most of which don't live in colonies and don't produce honey, but are essential to pollination. But 10% of these species are facing extinction. And it's not only the bees. A recent UN report says 1 million species are now heading for extinction. David Attenborough says the plan for our planet is remarkably simple. Reduce our impact by making sure that everything we do, we can do forever. And goes on to say we need to rewild the world. And we can do this in our own backyard by leaving patches of our land and gardens unkept. We can do this by putting away the sprays to create pollinator safe zones. We can do this by planting flowering species. It's easy to feel disheartened, but there are lots of simple actions that we can take to make a difference. By creating safe havens for bees, we provide stepping stones for our pollinators through the urban landscape. And by becoming beekeepers, we play an active and important role in looking after our bees. Plus, it's just such a fascinating and rewarding pastime. It's time to bring back some of our pollinators from the brink of extinction. And now we need to embrace the challenge we face today. If we look after the bees, they'll look after us. And the honey really is an amazing bonus.
Today is also commemorated as World Metrology Day, with the theme for 2024, we measure today for a sustainable tomorrow. And the theme for World Metrology 2024 is sustainability. This year marks the official recognition of UNESCO of 20 May each year as a UNESCO International Day. This designation opens a new avenues to promote metrology, aligning with UNESCO's mission to construct a better world through science and education. Following the launch event held at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris on 14th May 2024 to celebrate 20 May becoming a UNESCO International Day. And also dedicated a webpage by UNESCO with a video explaining the importance of metrology, and also a special message by Andrew Azule, the UNESCO Director General. Metrology provides the foundation of data-driven decision-making and policy development in sustainability by ensuring accurate measurements across various aspects of sustainability. It helps organizations, governments, and individuals make informed choices and contribute to a more sustainable future. Our focus for World Metrology Day in 2024 is on the numerous measurement opportunities that contribute to the establishment of a sustainable global economy and environment. So this is the first commemoration, which is in collaboration and as a part of UNESCO. We are commemorating, an entire world is commemorating the first celebration and commemoration of World Metrology. World Metrology Day is the annual celebration of the signature of the Meter Convention on 20th May 1875 by representation of 17 nations. The convention set the framework for global collaboration in science of measurement and its industrial, commercial, and societal applications. The original aim of the Meter Convention, the worldwide uniformity of measurement, remains an important day as it was in 1875. The World Metrology Day project is realized jointly by BIPM and OIML. So we hope that you enjoyed, and also metrology organization in various countries. Celebrated on 20th May each year, World Metrology Day helps the public to understand what is meant by the science of measurement and why we are so dependent on it. This little known science underpins countless aspects of our daily lives. Every time we buy a kilogram of oranges, use the GPS in our car to navigate, swallow a pill, cross a bridge, or enter a building, we should spare a thought for the metrologist who made this possible. Thanks to the metric system, an architect trained in Sudan will be able to design an office building in Mexico, as the standard measurements will be same in both countries. A bit of history in the Metrology Day The metric system, which is now the universal standard for measurements, was created over 200 years ago. World Metrology Day commemorates the signing on 20th May 1875 of the Meter Convention, an international treaty designed to ensure that everyone around the world use the same metric system to measure weight and length in order to ensure fair trade. The Meter Convention has since been ratified by over 100 countries and economies. In November 2023, UNESCO governing bodies proclaimed that 20th May would be henceforth be celebrated as World Metrology Day by Wide 42C by Resolution 21. Celebrations of the day each year are jointly supported by the International Bureau of Weights and Measures and International Organization of Legal Metrology. World Metrology Day promotes the benefits of measurement science to a global audience, emphasizing metrology value for quality of life and environmental preservation, a mission in harmony with UNESCO's goal of building a better world through science and education. As quoted by Andrew Azoulay, UNESCO Director General, at UNESCO, the lead United Nations agency for science metrology underpins all our work, from mapping the ocean floor to assessing the volume of glacier melt in the Andes and Central Asia, to flagship initiatives by the UNESCO. We depend on measurements as powerful tools to drive scientific discovery, technological innovation, and sustainable development. Celebrating World Metrology Day. So you might be wondering, by this time you might have an idea of what is metrology. Metrology is the scientific study of measurement. It allows us to set common standards for units and measuring instruments. Metrology has a wide range of applications, including navigation, construction, product development, environmental monitoring, medicine, food processing, and many. Metrology facilitates fair trade. Metrology drives innovation. Metrology supports regulation and advances the protection of citizens. Metrology helps meet social goals. What can go wrong when the wrong units of measures are used? The Tower of Pisa in Italy leans because its builders lacked precise tools to assess the ground condition, so didn't realize that the soil was soft and unstable. That's why we see the Tower of Pisa in Italy leans. In 1983, a passenger plane almost ran out of fuel in mid-flight because the crew were unfamiliar with the numeric measurements. Unfortunately, the plane landed safely. In 1999, NASA's Mars Climate Orbiter was lost because one team had calculated its acceleration in meters and millimeters, and another team in inches and feet. This mismatch in measurements had costed NASA to lose its NASA's Mars Climate Orbiter. In 1999, a patient in a hospital overdosed on a sedative when they received 0.5 grams rather than 0.5 grains of phenobarbital. A grain is equivalent to about 0.065 grams. So now you have understood what can go wrong when the wrong units of measures are used. And we can quote many such examples in our day-to-day life. So let's look into some of the aspects. And before going into that, let's watch a short video also. We have seen how metrology is important and has become part of our life, daily life, and we are using it daily. As part of our lives. Let's watch one more video. As it was a very short notice, yesterday only we have thought of having an exclusive event on this day. Any presenters who are willing to present on this specific topic, not on any other topics, are requested to share their presentations which are related to these themes so that we can permit you after this presentation.
Measurements are important in every aspect of our daily life, whether we buy an orange at a supermarket, whether we measure something with utility meters in terms of our energy use and consumption, whether we use GPS in terms of where we go, or whether we undertake cancer treatments and take medication. Metrology and the science of measurement and its application is used everywhere in the world in every aspect of what we do. And today, on World Metrology Day, we celebrate the signing of the Meter Treaty on the 20th of May 1875, when more than 200 years ago an option was put forward to advance a metric system to benefit everyone so that they have equal measures and that we can advance trade. So when measurements don't go right or they go wrong, we have a number of things that can impact buildings, operations, transport. One example of that is the Leaning Tower of Pisa, built in the 12th century. The tower leans unintentionally because the ground that it was built upon wasn't stable and it wasn't measured accurately in terms of the stability and the compacting of the earth. Those technologies have advanced now, and that's why we don't have situations like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So there are a number of elements where metrology can go wrong, but there are a number of elements where it's corrected and does go right to make life easier and simpler for everyone.
So World Metrology Day, which takes place annually on May 20. As we have seen that this day celebrates the signing of the Meter Convention by delegates from 17 different countries. In Paris, France on May 20, 1875, it resulted in the establishment of a universally recognized standard measurement system. World Metrology Day is dedicated to demonstrating how our scientific measurement system is capable of expanding beyond the confines of language. Measurement science, often known as metrology, is considered with the routine taking of measurements and how these measurements are progressively improved over time to improve their accuracy. World Metrology is being celebrated on May 20 every year to commemorate the signing of the Meter Convention in Paris, France on May 20, 1875 by representatives from 17 different countries. The International Organization of Legal Metrology, in short known as OIML, and the Bureau International des Poids et Measures, BIPM, collaborated on the World Metrology Day project. According to the treaty, a globally coherent measurement system was to be established to underline scientific advancement and innovation, industrial manufacture, and international trade. It also served to improve people's quality of life while safeguarding the global environment. The convention established a framework for global cooperation in the discipline of measurement, as well as in its industrial, commercial, and societal applications, as well as in other fields. National meteorological institutions across the world, all over the world, are working hard to progress measurement science by inventing, respective, and evaluating novel measuring techniques that are sophisticated for their respective applications. Each year, a regional metrology organization is tasked with creating a poster based on the theme that has been selected. A major accomplishment of this convention was the establishment of an international measurement standard, which enabled scientific communities around the world to work together more effectively. As a result of these worldwide metrology systems, people have certainty and trust that measurements are precise, thereby establishing a firm foundation for global trade and assisting us all in meeting the problems of the future. Even today, the significance of what was accomplished at this event can be felt in science laboratories all over the world. The system of measurement dates to when it became required as a result of agricultural development. and necessitated the calculation of crop production and the amount of food consumed by individuals and households. From time immemorial, as defined by the International Bureau of Weights and Measures, metrology is the science of measuring, embracing both experimental and theoretical determinations at the level of uncertainty in any discipline of science and technology, and it can be applied to any sector of science and technology. Measuring and regulating the performance of devices and systems is a key component of metrology. Measuring is the science of measurements. So it is employed in many areas, such as engineering. Metrology is utilized in engineering for structural analysis and production, for quality control and waste reduction. A good way to celebrate World Metrology Day is to attend a seminar, conference, webinar about metrology. You can learn more about the importance and applications of metrology in everyday life, like the one this is happening. If you are unsure about metrology, you can learn about it. Metrology is also important in our everyday lives, and its application can be seen in several industries. So learning about it is a great way to celebrate the day. You can let more people know about the day by creating awareness online and offline like this. You can create posters or infographics so that others can share, learn, and more about metrology and its importance. To ensure accurate and exact products, metrological instruments are utilized to calibrate production gears and tools. Post-production metrology is also used to ensure that the products satisfy the design and parameters and meet the expectations of the client. Medical devices need extreme pressure for the measurements, and metrology plays a significant part. Automotive sector relies on the extreme pressure, thus correct measurements are essential for better parts. To produce high-quality parts in aerospace sector, tremendous pressure is required in this industry, so metrology is used. It recognizes the critical role that measurement plays in promoting fair trade, international trade. It ensures that items comply with applicable rules and requirements and fulfilling customer expectations for product quality. It plays an important role in health. Metrology contributes to the vital function that measurement plays in health and consequently in overall well-being of every individual. Many elements of the healthcare industry can benefit from the use of measurement. Measurement science is concerned with conducting routine measurements and improving their accuracy over time. The measurement infrastructure, which guarantees that we have credibility in the measures, regardless of where they are obtained in the world. It also covered, which is critical in encouraging people to use the new technology. Today is also commemorated as Weights and Measures Day before it was designated with the World Metrology Day. The participants, if you have any queries, you can use chat box. So we will take up queries at the end of the session. So we have one more commemoration. After that, we shall conclude. Kindly be patient. And the feedback form will be shared at the end of the session, which is mandatory for getting e-certificate. So kindly do not interrupt in between the sessions. Any queries will be answered at the end of the sessions. Today is also commemorated as World Autoimmune Arthritis Day, which is commemorated on May 20, was conceived by International Autoimmune Arthritis Arthritis Movement, in short known as IAAM, to raise awareness about the autoimmune and inflammatory diseases that manifest with arthritis. Autoimmune diseases and autoinflammatory conditions refer to those that cause damage to the body organs, tissues, or cells because of hyperactive immune response. Autoimmune disorders occur when the body's immune system creates dangerous reactions to several factors, making it attack itself. It is estimated that 23.5 million people worldwide are affected by some form of autoimmune disease. Autoimmune arthritis is an umbrella term covering several different types of diseases, including rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, lupus, and gout. There are over 100 different types of autoimmune arthritis. Autoimmune arthritis can cause damage to joints, cartilage, and bone. Joints are usually affected symmetrically. That is, if you have pain in one joint, you likely notice it in the same place on other sides of the body. Rheumatoid, also known as RA, and rheumatoid disease arthritis is considered a chronic condition that causes inflammation of the joints of your body. The term chronic means that disease lasts for a long time, often many years. The first article regarding rheumatoid arthritis was published in 1800 by a British physician named Dr. Augustus Bosie Granville. In this article, he described the symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis in detail and identified it as an autoimmune system disease. However, the first accurate description of RA was given by French physician named Dr. Augustin Jacob Landry, BWS, in 1859, who provided a detailed account of the symptoms and presented X-rays of affected joints. It was not until 1927 that rheumatoid arthritis was recognized as an autoimmune disorder. The concept of autoimmunity was developed by a German pathologist named Paul Ehrlich when he used the term autoimmunity to describe an antibody directed against the host's tissues. This concept developed further during World War I when it was discovered that serum from animals immunized with bacterial toxins could cure tetanus. In 2012, the International Autoimmune Arthritis Movement spearheaded the creation of World Autoimmune Arthritis Day on May 20, an event aimed at raising awareness about autoimmune and autoinflammatory diseases that show up with arthritis as a symptom. X-rays of affected joints are presented. In 1859, French physician named Dr. Landry Beauvais provides a detailed account of the symptoms and presents X-rays of affected joints. The concept of autoimmunity is developed by a German pathologist named Paul Ehrlich in 1929, and rheumatoid arthritis is recognized. Some people with mild autoimmune arthritis can benefit from taking non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medications. These include ibuprofen, Advil, and naproxen, Aleve. For other types of arthritis, a doctor may prescribe medicines called disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drugs, in short known as DMARDs. Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease. Your immune system usually protects your body from infection and diseases. But in rheumatoid arthritis, your immune system attacks the tissues in your own joints. It can also have the medical problems with your heart, lungs, nerves, eyes, and skin. Some causes are infection, smoking, physical or emotional stress. Attend a seminar or conference that discusses autoimmune arthritis. Staying informed encourages acting in dealing with autoimmune arthritis patients. And there are still many people with autoimmune arthritis who have not received proper treatment. Join the efforts to help sufferers get adequate care. Rheumatoid arthritis can appear suddenly or go away on its own. Alternatively, the condition can linger for a long time and it is unpredictable. There are approximately 31.3 million people in the US with the rheumatoid arthritis. This equates to roughly 0.4% of population. Rheumatoid arthritis is an independent risk factor for heart attacks, even if your cholesterol level is average, your blood pressure is low, and you don't have a diabetes. It increases the chance of heart attack. Rheumatoid arthritis means that the immune system mistakenly attacks your body. The immune system attacks itself. Rheumatoid arthritis is more common among women, especially around the age of menopause, and it is most prominent in women. So this day raises awareness about the millions of people in the United States and across the world who suffer from rheumatoid arthritis as a result of autoimmune diseases and whose lives are impacted by the severe symptoms. The Arthritis Foundation also raises funds to end autoimmune arthritis through prevention, research, and treatment. This event also involves patients who suffer from rheumatoid arthritis, their family members, friends, and caregivers. Medical providers who treat these diseases and patient advocacy organizations such as Creaky Joints and Global Healthy Living Foundation also participate, as well as community-based organizations such as temples, schools, sports teams, and patients' employers. It unites the world. In today's era, the media makes it easier to know what is going on all corners of the world. World Autoimmune Arthritis Day encourages global participation. And today we also have a related commemoration before concluding. Today is also commemorated as National Women in Aerospace Day in US, which is observed each year in United States on May 20 to encourage more women to pursue a career in aero engineering and aerospace. This day also celebrates women of aerospace industry, including those working in commercial aviation, defense, UAVs, helicopters, and space. It is still an up and coming industry where women have made vital contributions. These women are an integral part of the industry and they should be celebrated. Some famous women in the aerospace industry are Harriet Quimby, Bessie Coleman, and Amelia Earhart. Just to name a few, National Women in Aerospace Day celebrates all women who have contributed and encourages more women to take up a profession in the industry across the world. So National Women in Aerospace was created in August 2021 by Nikki Malcolm, the CEO and Executive Director, with the Pacific Northwest Aerospace Alliance and the 32nd recipient of the Aerotime Aviation Achievement Award in 2022. This day celebrates the women who have contributed and are contributing to the aerospace industry, as well as encouraging those who aspire to contribute in the future. This day also aims to create more access to women and girls by bringing to them the incredible achievement of women in this field. Although women have flown since 1908, the flight to find a space working in the aerospace industry prior to 1970 is not easy. Each generation has played a role in breaking down new barriers and making careers in the military, commercial cockpits, laboratories, and space. From the first woman to earn her pilot's license to the programmers who made the trip to the moon a reality, National Women in Aerospace Day applauds these achievements and hopes for more enthusiastic participation in the future. In 1985, a pioneering and visionary group of women organized Women in Aerospace when they recognized the need for an organization to network within the aerospace industry. They also hope to increase their visibility in the sector, promote their achievements, and encourage more women to pursue careers in the aerospace industry. Today, women in aerospace industry continues to be met with overwhelming success. Over 30 years since its establishment, the group has over 2,000 individual members representing 250 companies, including more than 80 corporate members. The group encourages the participation of both women and men with joint efforts of women in aerospace and celebrations of National Women in Aerospace Industry. The aerospace industry might eventually become truly inclusive. The first US woman pilot in 1911 honor belongs to Harriet Quimby. The first female commercial pilot in the West Central Airlines hires Helen Ritchie in 1934. The first woman fighter pilot, Sabine Gökhan, becomes a Turkish aviator in 1936. The first woman in space, Soviet cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova, is the first woman in space in 1960. There are over 5,292 aerospace engineers currently employed in the United States. As of 2022, 11.2% of all aerospace engineers are women. Women can very well pursue aeronautical engineering if they are inclined to pursue design and analysis, among other things. There is a considerable scope for such professionals in the aerospace industry. In 1938, Elsie McGill became the first female aviation engineer in the world. She was Canadian. So celebrate the women in aerospace. Are you or a friend of a woman in the aerospace industry? Celebrate your achievements on National Women in Aerospace Day. Continue to support each other's professional endeavors. The road to a career in aerospace industry hasn't been easy. Observe National Women in Aerospace by learning the history of industry and celebrating pioneers in the field. A great way to celebrate National Women in Aerospace Day is by organizing outreach programs, encourage young women to pursue a career in the aerospace industry, and show them how to go about it. The global average of women in aerospace industry is approximately 20%. Female participation remains abysmally low. Women's involvement in aircraft and spacecraft manufacturing constitute only 26% of the workforce globally. Female aerospace engineers are low in number. They make up only 9% of the global total number of aerospace engineers employed. Only 19% of the leaders in aerospace and defense in the United States are women serving in the executive leadership roles. Zara Rutherford is an inspiration at 19, being the youngest female pilot to fly solo around the world. So National Women in Aerospace Day is a much needed day to celebrate all the wonderful achievements of women in the past and present with the aerospace industry. It also encourages women to take up careers in the industry. One of the aims of National Women in Aerospace Day is also to fix the skewed male to female ratio in the aerospace industry. Within outreach programs, more and more women find themselves wanting to work in the industry. Finding out a way to fly and visit outer space are two of the most remarkable feats achieved by humankind. For humankind, National Women in Aerospace Day is also a celebration of science, technology, and innovation. We are inspired by humankind's incredible feats. So today is also commemorated as Clinical Trials Day to mark the anniversary of the day in 1747 when James Lind conducted the first randomized clinical study. So let's take a moment to recognize the accomplishments of clinical research professionals in public health and medicine by recognizing their efforts in clinical trials. It is a day to express our gratitude to clinical research experts for their contributions to the advancement of public health through their work. The goal is to make this a primary focus for international communication activities, meetings, discussions, and celebrations of clinical research over the period as well. So with this, we shall conclude today's sessions, and any other presenters willing to make presentations quickly on these 3 commemorations topics are welcome to share their details in the chat box so that we can invite quickly for presentations. And due to paucity of time and also to limit the sessions only to relevant topics, we are not allowing any other topics, but there are a number of opportunities coming up every day. You can join any day and request for the presentations by registering prior in various upcoming conferences, webinars, seminars, symposiums, and webinars. So I don't see any relevant presentations. We understand that it was a very short notice, so it will be difficult for anyone for that matter to be prepared with such a short notice. So we thank each and everyone for being part of this wonderful commemorations, which is very much essential. And we have upcoming commemorations and dedicated events on upcoming Biodiversity Day and Ocean Day. And also on June 5th, we are also having a conference on World Environment Day on June 5th. We request you all to be prepared with similar topics and presentations so that you can be part as a presenter on these events. As a participant, you can participate every day and be part of this wonderful commemorations and events. So thank you, everyone. And we express our gratitude to all of you for being part of this international commemorations and celebrations of World Bee Day and World Autoimmune Arthritis Day and World Metrology Day and other commemorations. A feedback form has been raised in the form of polls. We request everyone, those who have attended, those who are attending, to quickly fill up the feedback form before you leave the platform. If you have any queries regarding today's sessions, you are free to share them in chat box. If required, we will invite you for the oral feedback. So thank you everyone for joining once again. The certificates will be updated in 3 to 5 working days on the website, which is shown on the screen. So the formalities are: the participants need to register using the Google form and also in the Zoom platform through the registration form, which was active till now, and also need to participate in this international seminar. Minimum attendance is required, and also provide feedback through the polls, which is raised in the Zoom platform, which is now active. And also a Google form will be provided on the website for providing feedback, which will be available today night or tomorrow, which has to be filled within 24 hours of closure of this event. And you can download your participation certificate from the website after 3 to 5 working days from the website. So as there are no presentations by outsiders. So the certificate process is much more easier. So we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form so that you can get certificates by tomorrow itself, provided all the participants are completing their formalities in time. Generally, the certificate process gets delayed because of non-completing of formalities by all the presenters and participants. So now it's only the participants. So we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form in the Zoom platform as well as on the website so that you can get the certificates at the earliest. So thank you once again, everyone. We express our sincere gratitude, heartfelt gratitude to all of you, the organizing team, for being part of this wonderful commemorations. So after filling up the feedback form, you may leave the platform. Thank you. Take care. Good night. See you all tomorrow at the same time with the same link, with different commemorations. Take care. Good night.